What is good, YouTube? Your boy JT, aka Pyro here. This time I'm actually coming at you with a more informative video as far as something of a personal goal that I attained during the crazy pandemic that we're all living through right now. I was able to acquire 21 acres of land in North Carolina during the pandemic. And the way how I was able to do that, first off, I was stacking my chips. This isn't a how-to video of how to magically get land in your name with no money. Like, no. You have to have at least some sort of savings, some sort of something. You don't have to be rich. You don't have to be rolling in dough to get the type of lifestyle or the type of property that you want. Yeah, you have to make some sacrifices depending on the location that you get the land in or that you get the property. I would rather pay for cheaper land or cheaper property in somewhere where it's more affordable rather than sitting here in New York State, which is currently where I reside in, and paying an arm and a leg and taxes. Yeah, taxes, which is huge. Just inflation of prices of everything in New York is just through the roof. So my fellow New York people that are watching this, or anybody that's in California or any place that has some crazy high taxes, if you're looking to get out and you're looking to just actually branch into other states and looking into other places, this is the video for you. A lot of people are also coming to this video from a tweet that I made on Twitter about me being able to use government money to help me acquire this land. Let me tell you right now, I did not use any grants. I did not use any FHA loans or whatever all those people in the comments were talking about. I didn't use any of those loans. I actually paid cash for my land. Yes, cash. That is the best way, in my opinion, to do business. If I want to acquire something from someone, I don't want to have to take out a loan. I don't want to have to pay interest, worrying about debt, coming back from that interest, all that stuff. I would rather just pay for something all out right away, own it in my name, and be done with it. That's it. So the way how I actually said that I use government money is because, as you know, we're going through a pandemic right now. In New York State, pandemic unemployment assistance in New York that they actually gave at one point an extra $600 on top of your unemployment. So during the pandemic, I was out of a job, I filed for unemployment, I started collecting some unemployment. Then they announced that they were giving the extra $600 on top of that. So I didn't receive a lot of those $600 between the weeks like I was supposed to, so I actually earned back pay that I needed from the state. So the state actually gave me back pay, and then on top of that, they finally started eventually paying me the $600 plus what I was getting from unemployment for the pandemic unemployment assistance. So I used that money, I was able to pay my rent, I was able to pay my bills, do what I have to do, and the leftover money that I had on the side, I was kind of stacking the extra money. I was moving very savvy, I was pinching my pennies during the pandemic, I wasn't splurging, I wasn't buying food every night, I was at home cooking, doing what I had to do, you know, saving money like how you should do. You shouldn't be out there being a consumer all the time. Sometimes you should have to save some money to advance in life. I was able to save some of the extra pandemic unemployment assistance from New York State and put it towards my goal of looking into a property. Like I said, I was already saving some money beforehand. Like you can buy property for all sorts of prices depending on location. Like I said, it varies. In North Carolina, which is where I was looking, and the reason why I looked in North Carolina is because recently I had one of my uncles who moved down to North Carolina, and he actually bought like a big property out there. He ended up making it a farm, which is awesome. I love it. You'll see videos on that later on my YouTube. But once he moved down there, I was taking trips to go visit him, and I'm like, wow, it is beautiful out here. Like, I actually really enjoy the calmness. I enjoy how cheap everything is. That's a given coming from up north. Like, you know, people like my up north people, you know the struggle of dealing with the expensive everything out here. So I was going down south, and I realized how cheap everything was visiting my uncle, and I'm like, wow, I really want to look into buying some land. It's possible to leave New York. You really don't have to be stuck here. If you really want to get out of here and do something else, like create a homestead or build your own property or build a house or even just buy a house somewhere else where it's way cheaper, do it. There's no reason to be stuck here. I feel like Long Island, especially, that's where I am. That's where I reside, Long Island, New York. Long Island, New York is a picked gold mine. It is so hard to buy real estate here. It is so hard to make any sort of really big investments that pay off because, like I said, it's already a picked gold mine here. Anyway, so I was looking into North Carolina, looking into a bunch of properties. I was searching around for a very, very, very long time. Like, this isn't something that's just gonna happen overnight. You have to do a lot of research, a lot of information that goes into buying land. It's not like you find something you like, you go hit them up and you purchase it. That's not really how it happens. Even though, yes, it's very simple, but you do have to go through a lot of steps. So, like I was saying, I stacked up a bunch of money on the side, then pandemic hit, then I actually started getting unemployment. And the extra $600 with the unemployment assistance, and then I got hit with the back pay. So that was an extra, I guess, few $1,000s that I got from the back pay, which was lucky. Like I said, I everything just happened to fall in place for me. This isn't the same situation for everybody. I know everybody, not everybody still got their stimulus. People are still fighting for back pay when it comes to unemployment and stuff. So I know people are in different situations. But if you're able to save a little bit of money, you can acquire some land. So like I said, I was looking at property in North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Florida, even Texas. I was looking all over the place. Places where it's a lot cheaper, and you don't have to worry about such high expenses all the time. So then my uncle finally moved. I was just like, you know what? I don't want to go somewhere where I don't know anybody. So, which isn't bad. I was actually prepared to go somewhere where I didn't know anybody, to branch out like my uncle did. But I said, you know what, it's better for me to move into a place where I actually know someone, so especially family, than being completely on my own in a whole nother state trying to figure things out. So now my uncle's in North Carolina. I started visiting him, and now I'm searching on the Zillow app, I'm searching on the realtor.com app, I'm searching on, my friend actually just put me onto another app recently called Redfin that I was looking into. There's a whole bunch of other, like, these realtor apps that you can actually put settings on what you want. Like, I wanted a minimum of 5 acres. I was seeing how cheap the land is and the property is down south, so I set a standard. I was like, you know what, if I'm actually gonna really take the jump into try to buying some land to eventually start building a house or doing all that, I don't want to cheap out. I want to get something kind of nice. I want to get something with a nice space, so I set a minimum of 5 acres. After that, I started looking in North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, all these other places for the minimum of 5 acre lot lands that were out there. And there was a whole bunch of options coming out. There was actually 2 original sites I was going to look at. One which was in Rockingham, North Carolina. It was in Chalk's Landing. It was an area out there which is actually a gated community type of area that they're building out there. I seen that as an investment opportunity because it was about 10 acres of land. Guy was asking, I think, $24,000 at the time. For some, that may be a lot. For some, that may not be a lot. Other people pay that for a car, and personally, I would rather have something that's more efficient for me because I already have a car. Instead of me buying a new car, I'm like, you know what, I got wheels already. I don't need any more big expenses. My next move is to try to advance in life, so I was looking for property. So I was looking and realizing that, wow, you could find a lot of land in places like North Carolina, South Carolina, from anywhere from $5,000 to $25,000. Yes, I said $5,000 to $25,000. I know that's a $20,000 difference in between, but when I mean, if you start researching, you can actually see that there is a whole bunch of property out there that's up for grabs. So I'm young, I'm 23 years old. I have a whole bunch of life to live ahead of me, so I would rather invest into important things that can possibly appreciate over time than something that's gonna depreciate like a car right off the lot. You know what I mean? I saved up enough money. I was actually, my budget was around $15,000 at first, and well, $10,000 at first. And then from there, I was like, you know what? I started saving a little more. I was able to up my budget to $15,000. Then the pandemic hit. I ended up getting the unemployment, and then I ended up getting the back pay. So it kind of bumped my margin up a little more of what I was able to spend. So I was able to spend around the 20K range now. Now I'm like, you know what, I don't want 5 acres anymore. I want 10 acres because I gained a little bit more money from the unemployment and all this other stuff. So now, like I said, I was saving. After I actually was doing research, I found 2 properties, like I said before, one in Chalk's Landing, which was like a gated community. I ended up getting in contact with a realtor out there. Shout out Carrie, if you're watching this video. Seriously, big shout out to you. So the reason why I got in contact with Carrie is because Carrie actually helped my uncle acquire his property, and Carrie actually started becoming very close with my family. Like I said, Carrie, we love you. Thank you for everything you do for us, and thank you for helping us change our lives, because seriously, you really helped us change our lives. But he relayed Carrie's information over to me. I got in contact with her, and I told her I was interested in purchasing some land down in North Carolina. She realized that I was interested in buying property to eventually build a house on later on, and I told her what my price range was. I told her what I was looking at, what I was looking for, like how I wanted something by running water, because I like to fish, I like outdoorsy stuff, so I at least wanted stuff by some sort of running water or something at least, which is crazy to ask for, because if you ask for that in New York, you're paying millions for not even waterfront property. Even if it's next to a lake or something, like, you're paying a pretty penny for anything waterfront in New York. So that was the reason, another reason why I also wanted to acquire that in North Carolina, because it would be so much cheaper for me to get that, especially raw land, and develop on the raw land. So Carrie asked me for what I was looking at, so I gave her my requirements, which was I wanted running water on my property. I wanted to be able to have electric. I want to be able to have well water, because city water is cool, but I would prefer to drill and get well water. That's way better. And I also wanted to make sure I wasn't gonna have any problems on the property as well. So Carrie, being a resident of North Carolina, she was able to help me and guide me into showing me what properties were good down there and what properties weren't good down there. And like I was saying about the Chalks Landing one before, which was in that gated community, there was 10 acres of land. Like I said, the guy was asking like $24,000 for the property. Went to go check it out with Carrie. Come to find out, it's in a terrible HOA, homeowners associations, who don't know what HOA is. From the gated community across the street, somehow that HOA carried over across the street into the other property that had nothing to do with the gated community. I understand some people want to live in gated communities, but personally, if I'm buying land, I don't want to be restricted on certain things. Like, I don't want to be restricted on noise. I don't want to be restricted on if I'm able to shoot my guns or my bow on my property or something. Like, I want to be able to do that without having any restrictions. That's the reason why I'm getting so much property. So Carrie says, you're not going to like that property, but we can go check it out anyway. So I'm like, okay. I go to check it out. Come to find out, the property wasn't even as nice as I thought it was. Like, I actually went there. I flew down to North Carolina. I'm actually flying down to North Carolina tomorrow. So I'm making this video while I'm in the process of going to check on my property this weekend. But flew down to North Carolina a couple times, checked out that property, was this close to purchasing it, and then she sent me the covenant, which was basically the rules and regulations of the property and what I could and couldn't do. On that specific property, I had to follow the HOA's rules, which I wasn't able to do a whole bunch of things. Like, I wasn't able to have livestock, no gunshots, you can't be loud past a certain time, anything like that, which I didn't like. And then on top of that, she sent me the restrictions that I was only able to build a certain home, a certain size. I was only able to make sure, like, it had to be a 2-car garage. I had to make sure the house was built with 100% natural materials. It was a whole bunch of rules. And I'm so happy that Carrie was able to get me that information before I pulled the trigger, because the guy who I was speaking to, he didn't even live in North Carolina. He was just a property investor in California, actually. That was the first property I was looking at. There was a second property that I was looking at that was very intriguing. It was next to there was game land behind it, so nobody would have ever built behind me. It was a whole bunch of property, 10 acres again. So like I said, my budget increased from 5 to 10 to 20 because I saved throughout the years for this goal. I really wanted this. Is something that I really wanted, so I've been saving. So 10 acres for about, I forgot what this guy wanted. This guy I think was $27,000 for this one, which was very high. It was way over my budget, and I wasn't willing to pay $27,000 for that lot. So I was negotiating with the guy, and then I was about to actually go check it out, and I was driving with my mom down to North Carolina. So basically, I just happened to refresh while I was going to look at another property, the one that I told you that had the sick game lands and everything behind it. So it was nice wooded trees and everything. $27,000 that guy wanted, and a crazy property in the area around that I was originally looking for popped up. This time it was 21 acres with a creek that runs along a whole side of the property. I'll show you like a little glimpse of what the format of the property looks like. 21 acres, there was access to 2 rows on each side. I had the creek that runs along the whole right side of the property, and there's also an old cargo line of train tracks that runs along the whole bottom of the property, which is a very light line. There's not trains on it all the time. So honestly, the property that I fell into was, in my opinion, a gold mine. We'll see how it happens later on in life. We'll see if it appreciates with the investments, and I'm happy that whoever's watching this video can hear my story and follow this journey of what I'm going through right now, because this is something that I've really had on my mind for a while, and now I actually took it serious, because now, as of July, the property is in my name. I am now an owner of 21 acres in North Carolina. It's awesome to say at 23 years old. Well, not even, I'm 22, I'm about to be 23 in 2 months. Going back to the cash thing, I didn't pay straight cash. How I actually paid for the property was, I told my realtor, I'm like, hey, I found this other property, can we come check it out? I sent her the link to it, and she's just like, wow, it's a very nice property. When you get down here, we're gonna check it out immediately. She's like, that's really nice, let's go check that out. This guy, the 21 acres, was originally asking for $25,000. I'm like, okay, it's a little over my budget, but let me see if he's willing to negotiate, especially since I had cash. And it's not like a cash transaction, like I just pull up with $20,000+ and give the person cash. That's not how it works. It's an actual legal transaction that I had to go to a bank. I had to get proof of funds to prove that I actually had the amount in my bank account, so I can show my realtor so she can actually go through with giving a real offer, because I can't give an offer without having proof showing them that I actually have the money up front. Because again, I'm not coming with a loan, I'm not coming with any grants or anything, I'm coming with straight cash. So the way how you go about that is you have to show them that you have the cash in your bank account. Then from there you have to go to your bank and get a certified bank check. Basically, you get a certified bank check of whatever the agreed upon price of the lot that the seller and the buyer agreed to. You put that on the bank check, and then you also have to pay extra fees like lawyer fees from processing all the paperwork and stuff. I'm gonna tell you how easy this process was. So I told my realtor I was really interested in this property. I made it down to North Carolina about that night, and the next morning, me, her, and my mom go hiking on the property. We go hiking on this property, which you're allowed to do. Go hiking to see the land, see the outside, go and see and everything, making sure that it's not too hilly, making sure there's not too much issues, because of course I want to see something before I buy it. I don't want to just buy anything blind. So we were able to look at the satellite view through the cameras and through the mapping systems and stuff like that, and then actually hiking it, I realized, wow, this lot is everything I wanted and more. So I said, you know what, Carrie, I do want it. Let's do it. Let's pull the trigger. And I was ready immediately, because with stuff like this, especially when it comes to property, especially during the pandemic, property has been flying. I've been looking at property all over the place, Wyoming, Colorado, Texas, and I have stuff saved in my Zillow, my realtor.com app, all these other apps that sell property and sell houses and stuff. And I'm letting you know, once the pandemic hit, stuff was selling left and right. People were buying up land, people were buying up property. So again, you have to move very quickly if you see something that sparks your interest, because if you wait too long, chances are someone's gonna grab it from underneath your nose. So you have to be very fast on it. Going back to what I was saying, hiking the property with Carrie, with my mom, really excited. I'm like, wow, this is the thing. This is the one. I want this. She's like, really, you want this? I'm like, yes, I want it. She's like, it's beautiful. She's like, we can make this offer, son. Yeah, let's make this offer. So I go back to my uncle's house, spending time. She texts me back and forth. She's telling me, so I'm making the offer tomorrow since you have the proof of funds, all this other stuff. And so she made the offer, which I didn't actually offer straight $25,000 because that was her asking price. I originally was ready to offer $20,000. I told you before, my budget increased now to $20,000, and I was able to have some more spending money. My realtor says, so we're offering $19,000, right? I'm like, $19,000 for a 21 acre lot with a creek alongside of it with train tracks? Okay, sure. It sounds unbelievable, but that's exactly what happened. This is exactly how the story, like, all the cards got dealt. It's crazy how she was just like, yeah, so we're offering 19, right? And I'm like, yeah, let's do it. I was ready to offer 20, and if you're gonna help me save $1,000, that's awesome. So she's like, yeah, if we're offering 19, it's still gonna come out to almost 20,000 with like the lawyer fees and the processing and all the fees you gotta pay and stuff like that. And I'm like, that's fine. If I'm paying under 20,000, I'm happy. She shoots the offer to them. It takes a couple days for them to get back to me. And then Carrie finally texts me one day when I'm back in New York at this point. She's just like, hey, are you free? Which was my realtor. So she gives me a call right after. Hey, guess what? Blah, blah, blah. I have some great news. What's up, Carrie? She's just like, they accepted your offer. Woo! She starts like yelling and going crazy and stuff over the phone. And I'm over here in my kitchen with my mom, jumping. Literally like, whoa! Like going crazy. Like I'm over here crazy excited. So I'm really happy. And now my heart's racing because now they accepted my offer, so now it's time for me to actually pay. So that's when I had to go to the bank, get the certified bank check, and do everything from there. So after I'm done losing my mind on the phone, like, okay, Carrie, so what's the next steps here? Like, where do we go from here? She's like, okay, so now we're basically at the part where they just need the money. Since they accepted the offer, you need to get that certified bank check and mail it down to me as soon as you can. I was already planning a trip to go down there, and I was just like, nah, I'm just gonna wait the next morning and I'm gonna get that bank check and I'm gonna drive down. So that's exactly what I did, because like I said, even though they accepted the offer and it was like technically in contract, I didn't want anybody to come through and be like, yeah, I'll offer you 25 or 30,000 or 40,000 for the lot, and then swoop it right under me, because again, until they have payment, it's like, it's not officially mine. So didn't delay. Next morning, literally went to my bank, got my certified bank check. Took me literally 2 minutes at the bank. Once I got that, drove straight down to North Carolina that night. Literally that night. Drove down to NC overnight. Got there, stayed at my uncle's house. The next morning, I met up with Carrie at my uncle's house and was like, here you go. Take that check. Take it to the lawyer. Do what you have to do. I'm just ready to have this officially in my name. So she handed the check to the lawyer. She came back with paperwork for me to sign. Actually, before I even had to sign physical paperwork, she had me sign a whole bunch of stuff on DocuSign, which was a majority of the signing was on DocuSign, so it was super easy. She literally like sent everything to my email. I just had to just click check, obviously read, because make sure you're not buying anything or reading any clauses or anything. After I was done reading all the paperwork, done signing, then she gave them the check. Then she came back with 2 more physical copies of papers that I had to sign. It was actually three pieces of paper, and just basically everything saying that they were transferring the ownership and the title and the deed of that land into my name. So it was just all that paperwork, official signing, this, that, blah, 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 blah. You know, all the legalities and all that. So after I was done signing stuff, she gave them the check, and I just had to wait for the paperwork to process. But it took a little longer to process because like Corona was still running rampant through the States. So it took like 1 to 2 weeks to process when it should have just took about a week. It took 2 to 3 weeks actually. Yeah. Took 2 to 3 weeks, so it took a little longer than expected, but that I couldn't really complain because everything was delayed. The whole world was delayed when Corona hit. About 2 to 3 weeks later, suddenly the mail comes in. There's an envelope in the mail, and then once I get the envelope and open it up, I see it's from NC. I'm hype. I'm ripping this shit open. It's the actual county sending me my paperwork that I could pay my first year's property tax on my land. Once I saw that, I'm like, I already know some people are gonna ask, and I just had to record this extra little clip before I continue the story. But my property tax was a joke. For 21 acres of land, I paid under $200. Not even, I paid like $105 or something for yearly property tax for 21 acres of land. People pay $5,000 to $10,000 in property tax in New York State for garbage properties. Like, just because it's in New York, they have to pay so much. I'm paying $105 a year. People are paying thousands. Let that sink in. Really, let that sink in. I call my realtor. She's just like, you are officially a North Carolina landowner. I lost it. I was hyped. I was losing my mind because, again, this is such a big attainable goal, and this is something bigger than just myself. This is something that I can pass down to generations to come. Like, I'm here in New York, and my family out here, we don't have over 2-3 acres to our name in New York. So in North Carolina, now me and my family got like 40 some odd acres, like mine including my uncle's lot. It's like very big changes of life going from state to state. Okay, so at this point, I'm stupid hype. I mean, I'm running around the crib doing laps, screaming, let's go! Like, so much emotion going through my mind because I didn't think it was possible. What I just explained to you, it's possible. Just know that it's not, I don't want to say it's not hard to acquire land, but it's very doable. It's not crazy expensive like some people think. I just happen to be in the right time, right place. Not every day you're gonna find 21 acres for $19,000. There afterwards ended up being 20K with all the fees and everything. But not every day you're gonna find 21 acres with a creek and all that stuff. But if you keep looking, if you keep doing your research, you will bump into a property that sparks your interest. You will bump into a property that actually just like, no way. So it's like, if you have the money, if you could save up 5,000, 10,000, 15, 20,000, if you can save that up, you can make this a possibility, and you could start the process of owning land to start building your own house. But it costs about $100,000 to $150,000 to build a nice house. And that's more on the expensive side. So it's possible. You can make it happen. Just save your money, stack your chips. Even if you put a little cabin, which you can get a cabin thrown on there, and you could just be living on your property in the meantime. Or if you're in another state, you could just save your money while you work on the property, like what I'm doing. Like, even though, yeah, granted, I'm in New York State, I'm still stacking my chips out here, doing what I gotta do to make my money to go down south, to start clearing trees, start putting the septic, electric, water, all that. start a driveway. I'm definitely gonna make more videos with this topic because I want everybody to see the process that I go through in clearing trees, adding water, adding the necessities needed to build a house. So my next move is, now that I own the land, now I have to focus on, like I said, clearing and doing all that. So before I do that, I gotta figure out where's the best location, because again, I have a lot of land now. So I gotta figure out what's the best location for me to actually put a house on the land. So now I gotta get the land professionally surveyed. Once I get the land professionally surveyed and they tell me what's the best location, then I can figure out how to start chopping trees down and where to start figuring out how to start building the blueprint of what I want to do with my new compound that I got. If you are interested in getting property, this is my recommendations. First off, save. You can't buy anything without money, and if you do qualify for loans, you just have to worry about paying them back, and you have to worry about the interest rates of the loan, and that's a whole bunch of other stuff that you got to worry about. If you can afford to get some property, the certified bank check method or the cash method, well, that is the cash method, but you know what I mean. If you're able to save up enough money that you're able to prove to them that you have that amount and you're able to make a solid offer, chances are you'll be able to get property for a lot cheaper, because again, cash is king. People want cash up front, and you have a lot more buying power. If I have cash up front, like that person that was offering this lot for $25,000 and we offered 19 and they accepted, I got $6,000 off the asking price because I had money up front. So again, my personal opinion, if you want to go for it, save up money. The certified bank check route was awesome for me. It may work for you, it may not work for you, but it all depends. People have different lanes of life. Everybody has different stuff going on. Me, everything fell into place as far as I got dealt a really good deck of cards with everything that was going on, especially with the pandemic. Unfortunately, it affected a lot of people, but I was able to take advantage of this opportunity that I had and make the most of it, and now I'm just focusing on the future. So where I bought the property is also a little more countryside. That's why it's also cheaper, because the more you go towards the city, like more you go towards Charlotte, Raleigh, those areas, obviously the prices go up because you're closer to the city. I was looking for more something where I could just go out and do what I want to do, as far as like if I want to go out ATVing and quadding and stuff like that. I don't gotta worry about anybody. So I wanted a little bit more countryside. But again, Charlotte's only a 2-hour drive away, which isn't that bad I don't consider that bad personally. I'm willing to take a 2-hour drive, and to go into town and where I bought my property, it's about 15-minute drive tops. So once I actually develop a house, slowly start transitioning and making my way down there. If you guys or girls got any questions, leave a comment below. Hit me up in my IG, it's Podium Pyro on Instagram, or DM me on Twitter, Podium Pyro as well. I'd appreciate a like. I'd appreciate a subscribe if you want to follow the journey on what's going on with this whole property. More videos to come on the land in North Carolina. I'll try to get back to as many people as I can. There's a whole bunch of people in my DMs asking me questions. I'm going to try to get back to all of you, but that's pretty much it. It's your boy JT, aka Pyro, and I'm out. See you in the next video.